Ghosts and ghostly activity have been reported from all parts of the world in every civilization. All kinds of people apparently see ghosts. There can be no doubt that on occasions the intelligent and critical, as well as the primitive and uneducated of all ages, do see them. A huge amount of evidence from widely varied sources in differing circumstances suggest conclusively that honest, healthy people with sound minds do see ghosts. The chances of anyone seeing a ghost during a lifetime are estimated to be as high as 1 in 10, and many fascinating reports from the United States, South America, and the British Isles have ghost reports that defy rational explanation. The Far East, India, Africa, and the rest of the world have all well-founded ghost stories that have been investigated time and time again without logical explanation for the phenomena. There is simply too much evidence over too wide an area and over a huge time span for it to all be dismissed out of hand. The haunting of Hitchin Priory is just a minute cross-section of this supernatural enigma. Hitchin Priory is a 14th century building set in 19 acres of gardens and parkland nestling on the River His. The building has an extensive haunted history and many sightings of strange, dark shadow figures, ghostly impressions, and visions of history have been experienced for many years at the location. Testimonies from visitors and employees at the hotel claim to have experienced a wide range of paranormal activity in many areas of the building. Damien O'Dell, founder of the Anglia Paranormal Investigation Society, has studied the haunting at Hitchin Priory and claims the building is still very much active with paranormal phenomenon. Damien has investigated and conducted research on some of the most haunted properties in the country, and Hitchin Priory remains one of the most interesting cases.
Hitchin Priory was always a challenge. We heard lots of anecdotal evidence that it was haunted. The Priory is essentially, it was a Carmelite monastery, sometimes called the White Friars, and then after the dissolution of the monasteries, the property was taken over by the Delmay Radcliffe family, and in Georgian times it was completely remodelled to the house that we know now. They lived there, the family lived there for 400 years, so there's a lot of history to that place. One of the most famous stories is connected with Hitchin Priory would be the anniversary ghost. This is alleged to happen every 15th of June, and the ghost of a Cavalier soldier is seen riding through the grounds of the Priory. Now, why that should be exactly, I don't know, because the Delmay Radcliffes were parliamentarians, so what is a Roundhead doing there? Well, we do know that Goring was a real character from history, and he had a lady friend who lived in Purton, which is not too far away, and while he was visiting this lady, a trap was set for him, and he was surrounded by Roundheads. He escaped through a tunnel, and he ended up in a hollow tree in the garden, but the soldiers found him, and essentially they just cut him down. Obviously she was never the same again. And subsequently the ghost of Goring has been seen around the Priory. The Priory is haunted not just on the inside but the outside. It's not just a Cavalier. Roman soldiers have been reported as being seen in the grounds too.
Sightings of ghostly monks, strange unexplained voices and footsteps are reported in a number of locations. The sound of locked doors opening and closing in the dead of night echo through the house, and glasses have mysteriously exploded on their own accord. A figure of a woman floating above the stairs, dressed in grey, has been witnessed gliding down the corridor. The employee was so frightened by the encounter, he refused to return to the staircase. The grey lady ghost has also been spotted walking the surrounding grounds of the Priory. Psychic medium David Griffiths has a vast spiritual experience dealing with hauntings and the ability to tune in to a location's energy, channel impressions of past events, and connect with the ghostly presence who still reside in the location. David made his way around Hitchin Priory in an attempt to pick up on the residual impressions recorded within the location and try to locate the source of the haunting using his unique ability to connect to the current of spiritual energy.
For me, if I walk into a haunted place, immediately I get impressions, visual impressions, mental impressions, and if it's particularly powerful, then hopefully I actually get a vision of somebody or whatever it is there, actually the same as I see you. But when you walk into certain rooms and certain locations, then it just literally hits you in the face. Psychically, for me, it hits you straight in the face. Now, before I even got into Hitchin Priory, I was hit immediately by two very, very, very strong female presences. Now, these were ladies who had very, very, very strong characters. That came across immediately. There was this matriarchal feeling about the building. And immediately I was given two names, Penelope and Anne. But the impression I get is she's not on the ground, she's floating. It's the impression I get. And I also get the impression of a pearl necklace. Not particularly colour defined, she's fairly grey. Can't pick up any colours at all. But this pearl necklace does stand out. They're in their own time. They're just in their own time. And in fact, yeah, it's a little boy and a little girl. The little boys chase the little girl upstairs. I love it. They're thoroughly enjoying themselves. There's a very happy atmosphere about this staircase. There's nothing negative at all about it. It's a very happy place to be, actually. There's some lovely memories here. That's why I'm so drawn to it. Yeah, it's very tactile as well. Maybe I'll come back in here actually, because I think I'll pick up something far more defined in terms of the residual. It seemed to me that Penelope preceded Anne. She was there before Anne came along on the scene. But it was very obvious, it was obvious to me that these two ladies had been very, very active in both the remodelling and the interiors of the house itself, but also in the grounds. And the strength of their character was like hitting a brick wall.
We're now in the music room, which is one of the most haunted rooms in the building. What staff have reported here is hearing voices mainly, but this window that I'm standing at, there has been a figure seen standing at the window. Quite recently there was a wedding party, about 10 o'clock at night. They were out there on the lawn, and one of them looked back to see a figure standing watching them from this window in the music room. That was peculiar because this room was locked in darkness and it was none of the staff.
I see a guy, four guys playing cards around the table, playing cards, but the dress is much earlier than Victoria.
I think what Dave is picking up on is an actual story that happened here. I wasn't aware which room it was until this moment, but it fits in with a story that I was told about a security guard who wandered in one night quite surprised to find a bunch of men sitting around a table playing cards who all stopped what they were doing, looked up at him, seemed to recognise him, and these four men were very real, but obviously wearing very old-fashioned clothing, as he put it. He was naturally quite startled, ran off to get another security guard. When they got back here, the room was as normal, no sign of the four card players at all.
Various areas and rooms in the Priory hold a strange, uncomfortable presence in the atmosphere. One in particular is the Lady Julia room. A cold, oppressive atmosphere lingers, making one feel very unwelcome and watched by an unseen presence. Unconfirmed sources state explosive violence and suicide took place in the room during the building's residency.
The immediate impressions walking into the room was an intense feeling of bitterness. Emotionally, women are far deeper than men, and the depth of their emotion is such that it makes it very easy to pick up on the residual in the room if a woman is involved.
That room had a different feel to it. It was colder than the other rooms for a start. And in any haunting, there's always a haunting hotspot, you know, and that seems to be one of the hotspots at the Priory where more incidents are reported. It may have been that something particularly nasty happened in that room, something tragic, somebody died in tragic circumstances. It's always difficult to say. There are so many theories. I mean, in ancient times, people used to talk about thin places. And a thin place was a place that was very close to the next world. So if you were going to see ghosts, you would see them in this kind of place because it was easy for them to make the transition. It may be that, you know, the site of Hitchin Priory is on what they would have called a thin place.
An investigation into the haunting of Hitchin Priory was conducted by Damien O'Dell's research group to determine the cause of the activity and to understand why the building holds such a rich energy in its atmosphere.
We set up cameras, we set up the monitors, we sort the equipment out that we need, the temperature gauges, cameras, digital recorders, all that kind of stuff. We allocate teams, so for a big place like Hitchin Priory we had several teams, and somebody will lead a team in a different area of the building. We have a plan of the evening, so we're constantly rotating between different areas of the building.
The overnight investigation of Hitchin Priory began in the music room, where the team attempt to establish communication with the haunting energy by asking questions and await the response of knocks and other signs of a ghostly presence. The investigation was filmed through the night to document any strange phenomena that would appear out of place.
Are you a male or female? One knock for yes, twice for a man. Come on, come closer.
Not that, yeah. I don't know what that was.
Seemed to be behind Mike. Yeah. I definitely heard something.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Just someone kind of put a fist in the back of the chair, just so
Yeah.
it kind of arched my back a bit more.
Thank you. Can you do that again for us?
Is your name Penelope? Could you give just one knock if your name is Penelope? Well, Penelope was a name given to me by Dave, our psychic medium, who he felt that this lady played an important part in the history of the Priory, and I think she was one of the main spirits haunting the place. The fact that we got a rap in response seems to show to me that we were right, that this was the right name.
And this is the impression I got, this lady with this Empire line dress on. And she was actually coming towards me as I stood. And I also got the impression she was, if she liked, she was sort of doing the rounds. She was just sort of wandering around the place.
During the investigation of the music room, strange bangs and odd noises respond to questions asked out by the team. A guest investigator felt the presence of a hand on her back by an unseen source, and strange shadows are witnessed, faintly appearing in the room. Could this be one of the ghostly female energies David has picked up on?
Another effect that my colleague here has just felt is that if you do actually come into close proximity with spirit energy, it can feel like, you know, when you brush into a cobweb, you get cobwebs across your face? Mm-hmm. Okay, she's just experienced that. Mm-hmm. You see the right-hand illuminated side of that door? Yeah, where the crack is. Just saw a shadow move across that right-hand crack.
I think it can be difficult for spirits to summon enough energy to communicate with us. So the fact that we got quite a lot of knocks on the night is evidence of their intention, is how hard they were trying to communicate to us. Also, spirits draw on the energy of the living, and as there was quite a lot of people there that night, I think there was 14 of us on the team in total, there was a lot of energy to draw on, and we were freely giving our energy. We're aware of this, so I think that helped the process.
The Cellar bar at Hitchin Priory holds a history of mysterious activity. David's impressions of the room claims ancient religious practices once occupied the location hundreds of years ago before the Priory had been constructed. Damien O'Dell also measures an energy line in the same area as Dave's psychic impression.
As soon as I walked down into the Cellar bar itself, the impression I got, the visual impression I got, if you can imagine the whole of that Cellar bar disappearing, was a Bronze Age village, roundhouses, and there was a well-used path, what was marked with white stones. And it was obviously some sort of if you like, processional way, because what I actually saw was groups of people coming down this processional way and actually stopping at this stream and making voting offerings into the stream.
Basically, this walkway here, this foundation wall, is pretty fake. And that's the passageway that leads to the Market Square in Hitchin, with all the other passageways that are there.
Right.
So one originally connected to here, and then there's one to St Mary's Church, which is in Hitchin, and then the others in the Market Square in Hitchin, just up the road, are all underneath.
So this was a tunnel
Yeah.
at one time,
Yeah.
and it's been blocked up?
Yeah.
Oh,
So we don't know if it's hollow still the other side, we're not sure, but the passageways that are underneath Hitchin, one of them led here, so...
If you come up,
There's something here.
yeah, you've got several layers actually going on.
Drawn over there.
So there's very strong energy just in this corner. I think it's a line this time.
It's
From
following
here
that-
across, yeah.
It's following that trackway.
It's quite broad, isn't it? Well, there are various forms of energy line. There are negative energy lines, which are black. There are haunting energy lines, which are green. In my mind, when I pick up the dowsing rods, I focus on green, haunting energy line. And I found it in the cellar very strongly. And interestingly, it ran across the room. Ghosts somehow draw on these hidden energy lines. They can, as well as tapping into our energy, they can tap into the hidden energy, what some people call ley lines, what I prefer to call energy lines. They can tap into these haunting energy lines. If a building doesn't have any haunting energy lines, it's not haunted. So that's why dowsing is very important to me. I will always bring my dowsing rods, satisfy myself that there is haunting energy in the building.
There was a regular actually in that cellar bar who was killed in a car crash. And I believe, as I remember, we actually picked up his favourite spot was actually perched on the corner of the bar. That's his favourite spot. And we got a persistent EMF reading from that particular spot. Yeah, we've got some residue in the back here.
Well, there was something here, and
Got it?
yeah, gone off the
Bang.
scale.
Over off the scale.
He's just here. So he's over here now.
Can you go see this? What's happening?
Look at that. You won't get stronger readings than that.
Light on the end of the scale.
Once again, an unseen physical interaction is felt by one of the guest investigators, a shunt to the back of her chair, followed by heavy thuds and footsteps over by the cellar bar.
Really? Sarah's chair.
No, my chair got like bumped to the point where I thought I was going to like pitch off of it. And I know it's a bit wonky, but it was more than that. Like it was, like I was physically moved off my chair.
I thought that was you.
And again, did you hear that?
A strange light anomaly manifests behind guest investigator Sarah immediately after her chair was pushed by unseen hands. Sometimes described as an orb or energy genesis, it clearly appears floating through the air around the investigators. Also, this area in the cellar bar is directly on the energy line measured by Damien and psychically by David.
I think the public is aware of orbs and nobody seems quite sure what they are. It has to be said that I've done a lot of research on the subject and I found that orbs only came into being in the 1990s, which is when digital cameras first came out. And the construction of a digital camera means that the flash is very close to the lens, which means that any small piece of dust that comes floating down between you and your subject is going to be turned into an orb. Also, water vapour can cause orbs. That's not to say that all light phenomena can be disregarded? No, but most of it can. To me, a genuine orb is something that travels at speed purposefully in a certain direction. Dust will drift generally from ceiling to floor, or it will drift along slowly in a current of air. But something that moves very fast, it's usually quite bright white light caught on an infrared camera. That is something else. Now, is it, as some spiritualists believe, the genesis of a ghost, the first stage? I think we can't rule it out. That might be a possibility.
The majority of hauntings reported across the world all hold a common similarity in each case. Usually the sighting of what we call ghosts has occurred at some point in our living history. A replay of past events, or a vision of a person who existed and lived a lifetime. These residual replays of history is known as the cinema of time, or the stone tape theory, and in a particular sustained supernatural event, a time slip.
Everything is connected, and if you delve into the physics of the universe, then you very quickly learn about such things as string theory, etc., where there are up to 10 different dimensions. We just happen to live in one. Also, what you very rapidly learn is the concept of time is relative. What we perceive as normal time, in fact, changes, for example, when you get close to a black hole. And in fact, at something called the event horizon, at a black hole, time simply does not exist. So what we perceive as everyday time, as far as the universe is concerned, really is just a human concept. It's a convenience for humans. Now, given the entanglement, in as much as everything is connected, my take on residual energy, I go along with something called the stone tape theory, whereby when events happen, when people's energy are present in a location, it actually entangles with the structure. And 9 times out of 10, residual energy, you'll find, is simply time not existing as such, but people are living their everyday lives and going through the motions they used to. But it comes out as activity in the place. It's simply a tape player going over and over and over again. And it's locked into the structure of the building or the surroundings.
The attic claims a haunting of a female, and the testimonies from many claim to feel depression and a sudden sense of heavy sadness and pain once they enter into the attic. During the investigation, the team immediately felt such energy in the room and tried to understand the presence using David's psychic impressions.
It's definitely in that direction.
There is something here. This was a servant's quarters.
Aha.
A servant slept up here.
In that
It is
corner, possibly.
fairly hostile.
In that corner where you were shining the light.
Something is just telling me to get out. Now, when we walked into the attic, that sense of hopelessness and oppression just hit me like a brick wall. It's boom. And it was also blatantly obvious that there was a presence in the attic who was actually hiding away from us. And again, this is a normal gut reaction of this particular entity, just to hide itself away because of the shame and degradation and all the rest of it.
Okay, we'll all keep really quiet for a few minutes and see.
We're not here to frighten you or chase you around or judge you in any way. Just give us a sign of your presence.
Can you try and make another sound like that for us? Just use our energies. We don't mind if you do that. So somebody moved. It's quite loud.
Come forward. Do you want to leave this place? If you want to leave this place, come forward and I can move you through. If you want to leave, come forward and I can move you through. You can see me, you can see who I am, you can see what I am. Please come forward.
I know you can hear my voice. And listen, sweetheart, I want to assure you, I know there's men up here, but they're all my friends, and none of them are here to hurt you. The friend beside me, Dave, really can help you.
Everybody felt there was something there. Everyone felt that there was a presence, and that's why I think when people went up there, where they were sort of looking around, it was almost as though there's something else here. Where is it? There was a very powerful haunting energy in there, and now we know why, because there was Sarah, the serving girl. That was her haunt, the attic. And I'm delighted. I mean, one of the best aspects of the whole investigation was that we were able to move this poor soul on. That she was trapped there, for hundreds of years, I guess.
She won't come forward.
No, I don't know what we can do to persuade her.
Well, we can't force her.
No.
We can leave her a gift. Okay, now I know it's tired, we're all tired, we've all had a long night, but what I need you to do is, can you all please imagine a ring of light that passes through each one of us? Now this is a blue-white light. Now can you imagine that light spreading up from the middle where the ring passes through you, up to the crown of your head and down to your feet until you become a column of light connected by a ring. You are now blazing white light. Now, because of the team we had, and especially the fact that we had some young ladies who were about her age in the group in the attic, I thought that we could probably, if we involved everybody, and I explained how to do things, we could probably get enough energy going to actually encourage her to move across. Is everybody comfortable with that impression? Mm-hmm. Can you all concentrate on that, please? Susan, you can see this ring. This is a ring of love and light. We're going to leave it here for you. It will not fade, it will not disappear. This is our gift to you. If you want to leave, simply step into the ring. I've asked people who I know, kind people, who, if you step into the ring, will come and fetch you. Please accept our gift. Now, can everybody just sort of really imagine they are real columns of blazing white light connected by a ring? We are light. We have no beginning. We have no end. We are timeless. We are eternal. We are right. So be it. Susan, if you accept our gift at any time, go with our love and go in peace. That's all we can do, guys. Can't do any more for her. Okay, can you just sort of all just gentle down now? Come back down, the ring fades. The ring fades, and you're back to your normal selves. Okay. That's all we can do for her.
I felt a feeling of calmness, so...
I think she's been accepted. I think she's gone.
There was a sad feeling, and then there was a calm feeling.
It's fine.
It's peaceful, it's calm. I don't feel bitterness, I don't feel hatred, I don't feel anything. I don't feel fear. I think she's gone.
The mood changed. There was a lightness in the atmosphere. Before it had been a little bit, I don't know, oppressive, if anything. The mood was lightened, and I think everybody felt that. Everyone felt a sense of relief. It was though we were sharing in her freedom that she'd moved on.
After the cleansing of the attic, the team are satisfied that they could at least close the case on one trapped soul lost in time, free from despair and the pain her ghost replayed for centuries.
I think it's not often that I've had to take and involve people to try and help the spirit who hasn't got the savvy to become forward and help themselves. But all you can do is leave them the gift and the opportunity, and eventually they will, and they do so again.
In summary of Hitchin Priory, answered a lot of questions for me, but there's a lot more to be answered, and I think this is a place that we really got to come back to again. Probably the best thing as far as we're concerned is that two members of staff actually interacted with the spirits that are definitely in this place. Both were physically touched by something that we couldn't see, but they very definitely felt something. Plus we've learned a lot of new things about stories that we've heard from the past. For instance, we knew that a security man had interrupted a game from another century where people were wearing clothes from the Regency times, and we've now found that location was very probably the music room, because our medium, Dave, picked up a card game in progress from that era. That was one of his earliest impressions in that room. So we've answered a few questions tonight. We've also picked up some first-hand accounts from the staff that work here from their own lips, so you can't get better evidence than that. It's been a great investigation. I think it's going to make a great story for everybody. Hitchin Priory is quite well known as the most haunted house in the whole of Hitchin, and probably further afield than that. Just to summarise, I think everybody enjoyed a very good investigation. It's not over yet though, folks. I think we've got to come back and find out more.
It was, for a psychic, it took a little bit of sorting out where the start of the story was and where the end of the story was. And it ran right from, as I say, the Bronze Age all the way through to modern day times, and this guy was killed in a car crash. So, is Hitchin Priory haunted? You bet your life it's haunted.